Good morning, this is Mrs. Heisenmuller, and today we are going to be doing our DNA necklace lab. So if you're looking at your directions, the first thing it says you need to do is to label your tube. This is my 15 mil tube, and to label it, I'm going to pull off a little piece of masking tape. I'm going to put my initials on the tape. Usually you write on the tape before you put it on the container. And the reason we're using tape is because I want to reuse the containers. So, put your tape on. Now my tube is labeled and ready to go for the next step. Okay, so now that I have my tube labeled, next step says to take my 2 milliliters of sports drink, which I'm using plain red Gatorade. Nothing super exciting. And 2 mils, as you can see, let's see if I can tilt it enough, is not very much. It's very, very little. And you're going to take it, swish it around in your mouth for 1 minute, and try and use your teeth to scrape up the cheek cells on the side, much like this. So once you're done, you spit it back into the cup, and then you're going to very carefully open up your test tube, the one that's correctly labeled for you. You're going to very, very carefully pour your 2 milliliters of sports drink into it. Okay, so now that I have my sports drink in there and it's got my cheek cells in it, I'm going to go to the solution station. I'm going to open up. This is my cell lysing solution. This is actually a kind of soap that's going to help break up my cells. So I'm just going to sit down and I'm going to draw up with my little pipette here 2 milliliters of the cell lysing solution, so not very much. I add it to my test tube and I put the lid on immediately. So now I have my cell lysing solution. Now I'm going to hold it like so, and I'm going to turn it 5 times. It's called an invert, not a shake. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Now I'm going to let it sit for a little bit so that it can kind of actually work. And in the directions, we're going to let that sit for 2 whole minutes, and then we're going to come back to it. Okay, in order to get this to stand up, because notice it has a pointed bottom, I'm just going to take a spot here of thick masking tape. I'm actually going to tape it directly to my desk, which in this case is my whiteboard. And notice it holds it perfectly upright, no problem whatsoever. Works great for getting that to stand up correctly. So make sure you can see there that it is standing up now, and you can see that's held in place with the tape, and it'll stay there for 2 minutes. Okay, so we've waited our requisite 2 minutes. So I'm going to untape my thing, and you can see it doesn't look much different. It looks pretty much the way it did when I started. So I go on to the next step, which is to bring my 15 ml tube over to the solution station again. I'm going to use my 70% ethanol. I'm going to open that up right there. And I'm going to try and do this up so that you can see the whole thing. So I have a brand new pipette, unused, and I'm going to draw up as much ethanol as it will hold because I need it to, you'll notice on the side that there are graduated marks. I need it to have anywhere between 12 and 13 mils total. So I need to add ethanol until I can get up to 12 mils. So I'm going to add it very carefully. Notice just down the side, and it's tilted. I'm going very slowly, and it's forming a layer on the side. So there we go. Need a little bit more. There we are. And this ethanol is very, very cold, which is part of what allows it to work. So I'm capping my ethanol. I'm very gently turning this back up. So as you can see, I now have a layer right here that is clear liquid. That's my ethanol, and this down here is my solution. I'm going to just very carefully put my cap back on, and this needs to sit for 10 minutes. So if you look very closely, you can see it's starting to pull my little bits of DNA up. See it? Now, I'm very carefully going to attach this back to the side of my desk, right here, just like it was before. I'm going to attach it very carefully, and I put it in a spot so I know no one will bump it, because if it moves around, then you're in trouble. So as it sits there, you're going to watch the DNA actually being pulled out of solution. So that needs to sit for 10 minutes. Okay, so it's been 10 minutes. I'm going to very carefully peel my tape back so I can see my sample. And as you can see, where'd it go? I have a little itty bitty right there. Very, very light strings. So the next step is to take out my little container, and again I'm going to try and do this one-handed. So I'm going to very, very gently tilt this on its side, and I'm going to use my pipette to try and suck up just the little threads of DNA and a little bit of the ethanol so that I can add them into my container. Now that that's done, I can seal my top, and I have a sample of my DNA. And you can see that there's little itty bitty threads in there. I'm not sure if you can actually see. See if the camera will focus correctly. Little itty bitty threads right in there that are my DNA. So it's not too hard to do, but you have to be very careful because this is ethanol. It's flammable, it's poisonous. So let's not be opening it, please, at school. But as you can see, I can fill it with just a tiny little bit of DNA, and that's fine.